All right. So this is how I paint my bombs. Should have 6. There we go. Um, if you look at some bomb reference pictures of these dumb bombs, or whatever they call them, unguided bombs that they used back in World War II, a lot of them have a cast texture. So how I recreate that, let's start. I've got them all glued together. I don't have the little propellers inside here, but I've got them glued together, and I sanded the seams. When you do them this way, you don't have to be too concerned with the seams, with filling them and making them perfect, because we're going to go over the main part of the body with this Mr. Surfacer. And for this I'm using Mr. Surfacer 1000. And so you don't have to work too hard to get those seams out of there. Basically what I'll do to get this cast texture is I'll take a brush, and I use an old crappy bin-out brush. I don't know if you can see that. I'll get a little Mr. Surfacer on there, and I'll just go around and dab it, trying to get that texture. And as this dries, you can keep doing this and make the texture a little more prominent. If you put it on a little wetter and don't mess with it, it will be less so. You can use Mr. Surfacer 500, but I find that gets you a real heavy texture. And for this scale, for the scale effect, I think this is sufficient. So I'll just go over the main part of the bomb. With Mr. Surfacer. And this also acts as a primer, so you don't have to prime it. And I don't think I'm going to prime the fins, just because I usually prime my bombs after I do this. Just because those are things you're going to handle when you take them on and off the plane. And with the acrylic Tamiya paint that I use, it's easy to chip off. And I find it less so if you use a primer. But with these, they're going to be inside the bay. They're going to be glued to the plane, and you're not going to be handling them. So I'm probably not going to mess with priming the rest of it. Okay. You can see there, I'm going to get a nice texture finish. Kind of covers up those seam lines. Let's keep patting it. And as it dries, you get more texture. Oh, that's going to be so beautiful. Oh, yes. All right, do another one. Got a little much. It's one of those things, you don't have to be perfect. All right. Now what I'm going to do is paint the yellow bands. There are 2 yellow bands. There's one right here and one right here, at least on the reference pictures that I got. So I'm going to start off is painting those yellow bands with Tamiya XF3. And I'm going to end up taping these off so I can get the edge on them. But to begin with, I'm going to lay this color down before I paint the green colors. So I'm just going to go around, paint the areas where the bands are going to be. Get a nice yellow color in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to be painting the bombs a dark green color. So I don't have to go overboard on the yellow because the contrast is gonna make the yellow really pop out. All right, looks good. All right, we're back. The yellow has had time to dry. And what I'm doing now is I'm cutting out strips of masking tape 1 millimeter thick on my Infini cutting mat. Yikes. Dang it. Skipped one. And I'm going to mask off the yellow areas. And then I'll paint the green, the shades of green over the balm. So when I peel the masking off, the yellow stripes will be there. And this is the way I like to do most of my bombs and missiles. I hate messing with decals. I just find it's maybe not as easy sometimes if you got good decals, but if you got really crappy decals and trying to get them aligned, you get a way better result this way, in my opinion. I probably got enough here, but I'll keep going. And this is using this mat to cut strips of tape is so much easier than measuring out. And with this, you're going to get the correct width every time. Okay, I've already got some down here cut out. Lift this up. And I don't have these marked. I'm just basing it on where the like right before it curves down to the rounded part. I may go a little bit lower. I think I'll probably use this dot as a reference here. Let's go around, try to keep it straight. If you aren't straight, you'll know it when you get to this point. And I leave enough to where it overlaps just a little bit. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. If you look at reference pictures, you'll see that a lot of these stripes aren't perfect. I think I may go down and use this one as a reference. I'm going to redo this one just so they're all the same. Put it on that little hole there and just take it around, kind of using that bottom lip as a guide. And I'm a little off. Looks pretty good. All right. Hey, there's a bunny coming up to my window. Hey, bunny. Barbie, you want to come get the bunny? Barbie, there's a bunny rabbit. Hold on a second. I'm going to go get my... Look, there's a bunny out there under the bush. See it? I'm going to go get my dog and see if it'll get the bunny. Hold on a second. All right. Well, the bunny fled the scene before we could arrive. So I'm going to continue masking these off. All right. I've got all of them masked off, and I've got them on toothpicks. I just stuck the end of the toothpick in the hole there. That's in focus. Okay, they're all masked off. So what I'm going to start with is I've got XF61. It's a dark green color. It's what it calls out, but you can use any type of color. I just wanted to get a different tone than what I'm going to paint the interior of the fuselage, the bomb bay. So I'm going to go over the whole thing with this dark green color. And I've got it mixed about 50-50. Let's go over the whole thing, get it covered. And I can see getting the inside of these might be a little bit of a pain. Just use, what I find that works best is you use a low air pressure. You got your paint mix pretty thin. I think this is probably a little less than 50-50, but I don't know, I didn't measure it. So I'm going to cover it with the XF61 all over. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Just get a pretty good coverage on it. You don't have to drench it. All right. Stick that on there. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use a couple different shades of this color. All right, I've got them all painted up. They've got a good coat of XF61. Again, it's not totally completely covered. There's still a little bit of the, maybe a little bit of the gray and the yellow showing through. It's no big deal. I'm going to be putting 2 more coats on this thing, so I don't want to like overdo it and get a lot of paint buildup. So next thing I'm going to do is I've still got my XF61 in the color cup. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow that I saved from painting the stripes. And I'm going to throw that in there, mix it up, and lighten up that green color. Might throw a little bit more in there. Might be too much, but we can thin it down. And we're going to thin this down. Add some more thinner. Just so we can control it a little bit better. Now I use yellow instead of white to lighten it with like greens and browns. I find that yellow works better than white to lighten it. So we're using yellow. Now what we're gonna do, spray the other out. Okay, now that's gonna be a couple shades lighter. Now I'm just gonna go over the centers. Just spray that light color over the center, and you're hardly gonna notice it while you're doing it. But it's going to be there. Okay. I don't know if you can tell. My camera will come in focus. Okay. I think I may lighten that up just a little bit more. think what happened was I diluted it so much that that light color is really not coming through. And I find it sometimes better to sometimes overdo it. And especially on something like this, it's going to be inside. Whoa. That you're really not going to notice till you look close. Sometimes it's better to overdo it than to underdo it. Yeah, I got the right color that I want. Okay, now you can really see that light color coming through. And you just kind of want to stick to the center. You don't want to spray the whole thing. But if you get a little bit on the ends, doesn't matter. We're going to go over that anyway. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out a different airbrush so I don't have to mess with cleaning that one out right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my original XF61 and I'm going to add some almost out of that thinner to my color cup, and we'll mix it about 50-50. I'm going to put a little bit of XF61 in here and mix it with a little black. So we're going to darken it up. Mix it with some XF1 flat black. Just a few drops. Yikes. Splattered that all over myself. Now, black's one of those colors that you put too much, it's just going to be a black with a little bit of green in it, and you're not going to notice it. We just want a darker shade of this green, and I've got it thinned down pretty well. Probably 70-30, 70% thinner, 30% paint. As you can see, it's pretty thin. So next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray the ends, kind of get the ends a little bit darker. And I'm not going to go overboard with this, because it will really darken it up. Okay, you may or may not be able to notice that, but it's definitely a couple shades darker than the original color. I gotta keep track of the ones that I did. I just spray the ends, just light coats. Stay away from the center. And this is just going to give you that variation in colors, so you don't have one big solid green blob in there that you're calling a bomb. It's actually going to, hopefully when we're done, look like a bomb. Like a real weathered munition. Yep, that's all of them. All right, Now, I'm going to go ahead and let these dry a bit, clean out my airbrushes, and then we'll come back with the last step. All right, this is going to be the final step before I throw a flat coat or whatever kind of coat. I usually use a flat coat on my bombs. Okay, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tear out a little piece of sponge. Just tear off a little piece. Make sure it's irregular. Put it on my my tweezers here. And I'm using the original XF61 dark green that I used for the base coat. And what I'm going to do is just go along. And I'm not going to overdo it, but I'm just going to put little splotches of the base coat over the center of the bomb. And that's going to give it that little variation in color, give it that splotchy appearance. I know it's kind of hard to see right now, but once you put a flat coat over it, you're going to notice it. And you know, when it's again one of those things, when you look up close, you're gonna see these little details that you put in that are gonna set it apart from everybody else's. And that's the way we like to work it here at Primed Model Works. I like the way you work it, yo diggity. As you can see, this doesn't take that much time. Now I got a little bit bigger splotch, that's okay. No big deal. All right, now, if I can peel these yellow bands off. Oh, look how gorgeous that looks. Oh my gosh. And you can come back once you put a poop. I stepped on some model stuff. Once you if we can get some light in here. You can't hardly tell in the camera. But once you put a and sometimes I'll come back with a clear coat. See if I can get this in here better. Sometimes I'll come back with a clear coat and throw some oil washes in there. Throw some dot filtering, some like light browns. The lighting is not real good here, but you can kind of see the transition. It doesn't show up real good on camera, but the flat coat will really bring out the different colors. See how nice my bands are? Okay, let's do the rest of them. All right, I decided I wasn't completely happy with these. So what I'm going to do is do some dot filtering. Get my brushes out. Get my crappy brushes out. So I've got my oil paint, and I use, what I like is this Abtelung 502. This stuff. I find this is a lot better than the cheap stuff you get at Walmart. Pretty expensive, but it's worth it, and you don't Oh, these stupid allergies. Oh, you don't, I forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, so how you do this, and I've got, I think, some earth brown, some field gray, which is basically a green. It's got a greenish tone to it, and some like ivory. And I'm just going to go around, put some dots on here. And this is going to give it another color variation. Throw some green in there. Some of this ivory color, lighten it up. Because when you look at these bombs, they all, they've got a bunch of different tones. They get kind of dirty and grimy. So now I'm going to take my crappy brush, same one I used to do the stippling, and I'm just going to kind of streak these. Kind of blend them together. And I didn't put any protective coat on here. This is acrylic over, or oil over acrylic, so it shouldn't affect the paint. Just kind of blend them into where you like it. Give it those color variations that you see on bombs. And I know this is going to be on the inside. This might be overkill, but that's just the way I roll. And this is going to be the inside on the bomb rack, so I don't have to worry about that too much. But that's going to give it some good color variation. Then I'll probably come back and dry brush the some metal finish over this part right here on the front, and might dry brush some of these edges to make it pop out a little bit. So that's as easy as that. I'll do a couple more on camera and then call it a day. And as you can see, I'm using the same brush for the different colors. With this, you can just kind of, since you're mixing it all in anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, then we're just gonna blend it in. Much better, guys. Do one more. That's going to give it that nice, grimy, weathered appearance. Those little tonal variations. All right, I like that. All right, I'll probably come back and show you some finished pictures once I get a flat coat on it and do a little bit of dry brushing, and I'll show you pictures of what it looks like.